here today to have this IEP meeting on Michael Jackson. We're going to discuss some assessment behavior that we've done and talk about the different assessments that we've been doing with him and kind of see where we're going with him after these assessments. So, the first thing we did was we did an informal assessment. Oh wait, we probably should have some introductions. This is Michael Jackson's mother, and then I have the principal here with me, and his general ed teacher is actually filming this video, so everybody's here to discuss this. The first assessment we did was an informal assessment. So Mom, I'm going to show you what we did. We went through this informal assessment. We did this informal assessment on his phonological awareness skills, and you can see in some of the charts that I have, let me find them, we found on this graph what different skills he has. The skills he is capable of doing are in the red, and then the blue shows what a normal second grader does. So we took each skill that was listed in the phonics assessment and went ahead and broke it down in this chart. Then we learned from there that he has a hard time processing different skills. We found that he has a hard time processing B and D. So on this chart we went through and this showed how many times he missed something with B and D, and this is this was how many times he missed something without mixing up the B and the D. So we learned that through this informal assessment that he has a hard time with the B's and the D's, and the reversals are affecting his reading skills. So that was what we learned in his informal assessment. In his norm referred assessment, we looked at all of his different skills in this chart, his basic reading skills, reading comprehension, oral reading. This was his Ames web testing. It showed where he was, where the norm for the district is, and his current evaluation score. So it had all the different ones on there. It broke everything down as far as his reading. We then went through, because of the scores that he received in his Ames, we went and looked at how his fluency was. And we did a bunch of different fluency reads. He did one with just the alphabet because we were watching the B's and the D's, and he did on this reverse all of his B's and D's when he was doing this one. We then started doing different fluency reads. Once every 6 weeks, he would read one of these passages to see how many words he was reading. His baseline started out at 14 words per minute. So that is on this chart showing where he was during each probe. He first started out, this was just one-time read. The red showed when he reread it. So the first time was always lower for the most part, except on probe 5. He was a little less on that one. He does not read a lot of words per minute. We learned that through the course of these. We learned that he can apply his phonics rules fairly well, but he does it very slowly. So for him, we know he's got basic phonics rules as a strength, very basic, the beginning letter sounds, the ending sounds, and he has some of his vowel combinations down. He is starting to blend words, but it's just starting to appear. It is a strength for him. He is doing well with it, but he takes a lot of time when he is doing it. Initial sounds is another strength for him. He understands the beginning sounds. He's always good at knowing if it's a blend or if it's a single sound when he's sounding out a word. Some weaknesses we found through the testing for him were the B's and the D's. Those do affect him when he's reading. They affect his reading speed. They affect his fluency. They affect all different things for him. And so that's been a goal that we started on. That's one of the short-term goals that we're working on. Another weakness is his fluency speed because he reads slow. His fluency speed is very slow. He does have good comprehension when he reads, but he reads extremely slow. So on his different probes that he didn't ever read past 22 words, and he would have 5 errors on some. He's still making quite a few errors when he is reading through the different probes. He also sometimes self-corrects, other times he doesn't. He can miss the same word multiple times through his reads. They're all different. On this one, on this chart, it shows us probe 3 was his highest. So I went back and pulled that one out so we could kind of look at it. Let me find it. Probe 3 was this one. He had the least amount of errors with this. He only had 4 errors in this one. He missed mostly the name in this. It kept repeating Meg, and so that's where he struggled. He could not sound out the word Meg consistently through that, but he didn't make as many errors. So he got all the basic words, but he had to sound out each word as he was going through, so it takes him quite a bit, so he doesn't ever get very far on the page. It helps him to reread, though, because we can see on the chart that it comes up when he has the time to reread it. On the curriculum-based measure, we looked at it, and it shows his Ames Web scores are going up, or this is the line that we want him to be following, and this is kind of where he's at. He's started out, kind of leveled out, and then he came up, then he went back down, and now he's back on an incline. So he's working hard. We're seeing some growth with some of his scores. Another weakness for him would be the deletion of sounds. If we have him do anything where he has to take sounds away, or he's trying to manipulate things in the phonics and he's having to take a sound off or put a sound on in any location, he cannot do that very well yet. So that's another weakness for him. So for the 2 short-term goals we had one was that he's going to work on his B and D reversals, and then the other one was that he's going to work on understanding the deletion of sounds at the beginning and ends of words. His language is also an issue. We know he gets speech 3 times a week, so that plays into some of his sounding out. He doesn't always understand the sounds and the articulation with it. So his long-term goals are, one of them is that when presented with consonant blends, clusters, vowel combinations, he will identify their appropriate sounds in isolation and within unfamiliar words with 80% accuracy. So he's going to work on that as a long-term goal. His other long-term goal was to, when presented with certain sounds in isolation and the letters B's and D's, he's going to identify them correctly in the familiar words, not in unfamiliar words, just in familiar words. He's going to identify them with 100% accuracy. So he's kind of got a long-term and a short-term goal for his B's and his D's because of how much it's affecting his fluency. Does anybody have any concerns or questions they want to ask about the IEP? I know Mom has talked about the fact that she's having him read aloud at home,
and she's working on spelling words with him and trying to work through those different things and trying to help him with the B's and the D's, because she's also noticing it in the spelling words and when he's doing writing. Anything else we would want to talk about? You're going to have to answer.
No.
If that's all, I think we're going to wrap it up. If anybody has any questions or concerns, it's kind of a lot of information really, really fast and a lot of graphs. So if you get home and you're still wondering or you have more questions, you need to just give me a call. I'd be happy to explain anything else. And I think that's it.